So for our message today, Penny and I are going to offer our reflections on this third beatitude. Let us pray. Lord, let the words of our mouths and the meditations of all of our hearts be in tune with your love and power, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen.
Our world feels upside down right now. It feels topsy-turvy. Things are out of order. These are challenging times. As we try to make sense of an unseen virus that's impacting the world, the hoarding of toilet paper and groceries, the disruption in our own lives of school cancelings and mandates to work from home, the closing of national events like Disneyland and Disney World, and sporting events on a national scale getting canceled, movie theaters shutting down, and our own opportunity to worship together online today instead of in person, things don't make sense. And we as a church family are also striving to make sense of Jesus' most famous words in the Sermon on the Mount. These Beatitudes, the Christian ninefold path, are not easy teachings for us. And I suspect the disciples like us were also trying to make sense of Jesus' words. 2 weeks ago, Mark preached on Blessed are the poor in spirit. Last week, Liz preached on Blessed are those who mourn. As we've been exploring these two familiar passages, both in sermons and small groups throughout the season of Lent, I've had a number of conversations with many of you about how challenging these texts are, not only to understand, but also to live out. And I wonder, isn't that the point? That these texts are intended to turn our worldview upside down as well. So we'll continue to journey together and discover and learn and grow the depth of what Jesus might be trying to have us understand, which is exactly what his listeners would have been doing the first time he spoke these words in his first public act in the Gospel of Matthew. They would have likely been confused too, and continued to seek his wisdom and guidance. It's also true that in conversations with some of you, you're really enjoying wrestling with these Beatitudes. You've come to a greater understanding of Jesus' word, a depth to how his teachings have impacted your own life. Your perspective has changed, and you appreciate the learning and the gift of these passages. Whether you're enjoying the sermon series in small groups, or whether you're challenged by them, know that you're in good company. And together as a faith community, we'll continue to discover and explore what these mean for our lives. And the question for us today is, how might the promise of Jesus' words in today's Beatitude encourage us to live in these upside down times? Blessed are those who are meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Meekness isn't a quality that is something that we value in our world today. We value competition and comparison and individualism. Meekness isn't something that we teach our children and strive to become ourselves. We tend to think and live in a culture of self-made individuals and people who strive for more and more. We often think of meekness as weakness, don't we? And we see those who are meek as quiet or shy, sometimes as a doormat. We do not strive to be meek. We strive to be strong. We strive to be a leader. We strive to be courageous and competent. That's the essence of who we want to be. But I think there's a lot of misconceptions about meekness. Some people think that meekness means letting other people take advantage of you, always saying yes or taking on the servant role, getting walked over in your job or in a family role. This is where Jesus' words challenge us. Blessed are the meek, This is just upside down, as blessed are the poor in spirit, and blessed are those who mourn. But I wonder, is that really true? What if this topsy-turvy teaching is really the truth? What if meekness isn't meekness at all, like our culture has led us to believe? What if meekness is in fact strength and courage? What if we could learn to live differently? What if we could walk with meekness? What if we could walk the way of humility?
So did you know that the word meek is used to describe just two people in the Scriptures? In the Old Testament it's used to describe Moses, and in the New Testament it's used to describe Jesus. Can you think of two more central figures in the biblical narrative? Moses, the great leader and liberator of the people of Israel, and Jesus, the human being who transformed human history for all time. Meekness is not timidity, but it's also not bravado either. Both Moses and Jesus are powerful human beings who exercise and use their power for the common good. Both of them have strong wills, but they have aligned those wills with God's will. Both of them have confidence in who they are, but they also have confidence in whose they are. This week, as we reflect on the way of humility, I like to remember my favorite definition of humility, which is this. To be humble is to be who you are. No more and no less. That's the sweet spot, I think, that Jesus is calling each of us and all of us. And that's the place that I invite you to find in the midst of this challenge. Because quite honestly, without challenges, most of us would never do the work that's necessary to become a more humble human being. But in order to walk in the way of humility, we must learn to resist two of the great temptations in the spiritual life. The first is to try to be more than who we are, to try to be Superman or Superwoman, to try to be all things to all people, to try to do it all by yourself without anybody's help. We must resist that temptation. But there's another temptation which is equally destructive to us and to others, and that is the temptation to become less than who we are created to be. It's to shy away from our best self. It's to cower in fear. It's to be afraid of God's call in our lives. It's to look to everybody else to do for us what we must do for ourselves. So the challenge this week, the challenge in this time, is to do what is ours to do, and to do it wholeheartedly, and to recognize that each of us needs the help of so many other people who need to do what is theirs to do, and do it wholeheartedly. That's what it means to be humble. This is what it means to be meek. The Beatitude says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Inherit the earth. Inherit comes from inheritance. And when we receive an inheritance, it is not something we achieve or make happen. It's not even something we earn. It's something given to us, usually by somebody who loves us. So we must learn to receive the gift of this life, the gift of who we are. That's what humility demands of us. And that's the promise, that we will inherit the gift of God when we go about the business of being who we are, when we take control of those things that we can control, and we learn to accept those things that we can't. When Carl Jung was an old man, one of his students read Bunyan's Pilgrim Progress, and he asked him, "What has your pilgrimage really been?" In other words, what has your journey been about? What have you discovered that has allowed you to become a wise and humble elder? And this is what he said. He said, "In my case, the pilgrim's progress consisted in my having to climb down 1,000 ladders until I could reach out my hand to the little clod of earth that I am." The little clod of earth. reach down and touch the earthiness of our humanity. The word humble, the word human, comes from humus, which is of the earth. Ash Wednesday, we remembered from dust and earth we have come, and to dust and earth we shall return. This is a hard truth. It can frighten us at times, but it's true. And it can be liberating. That's, I think, where Jesus is leading us. It can be liberating to understand that without the breath of God, we're nothing. But with that breath, as the psalmist says, we are clothed with honor and dignity and a little less lower than God. That's what it means to be humble. We can't do the things that other people can do, and thank God others can do different things. We're not Zion Williamson, who can take his salary for the next couple months and pay for all the arena workers who are out of work. God bless him. We're not Jack Ma, the billionaire who is donating 500,000 test kits and 1 million masks to America as a gift during our most vulnerable time. Most of us aren't on the front lines saving lives, dealing with the atrocity of this pandemic. I know some of you are. Thank God that you are listening to your call and doing what is yours to do. But there is something all of us can do, and we must do it. All of us can do something. We can write an email to somebody we know could benefit from that. We can write a note. We can cook a meal and drop it off at somebody's house. We can go shopping and get an extra bag, bring it to the church or bring it to somebody else's house. We can offer to do childcare for a single parent who has to continue to work. We could pray for the things that we hear about on the news. We can call the elderly person who we know is alone and who is most vulnerable right now. There's something each of us and all of us can do, and we must. The poet William Blake says we are put on earth a little space that we might learn to bear the beams of love. Gerald May says that word bear is so powerful because it can mean three things. It can mean to endure, it can mean to carry, and it can mean to give birth. And in many ways, these things are interrelated. God is calling us to bear the beams of love, to endure these challenging times, to hang in there with it, to hang in there together, and to carry what is ours to carry, to find it and to carry it and to offer it to the world with all of our strength. And when we do that, something is born in the world that wouldn't be born if we weren't doing our part. And that's the whole point of our existence. That's the whole message of the gospel. That is the heart of this Christian ninefold path. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are the humble. Blessed are those who are being who they are, no more and no less. Blessed are those who understand that without the grace of God we're nothing. Without the breath of God we're nothing. Blessed are those who understand everything's a gift on loan for a period of time. Blessed are those who understand how precious and fragile this gift is. You're blessed when you're content with who you are, no more, no less. That's the moment you find yourselves proud owners of everything that can't be bought, because it must be inherited by a God who loves us and wants to give us the best. Today there are so many things out of our control. And you know what? That's always true. It just is a little clearer today. So do what is yours to do, and do it with all your heart. And pray that others will do the same. Because I tell you, that's the way we can endure this challenge. That's the way we can carry the burden together. And that's the way we can give birth to God's love in Christ Jesus